is Jonathan, and I'm playing on ICC. My handle is J-O'Donnell, as you can see right here. We're going to talk about a game today where I've been playing, and I'm 1300 rated right now, and I'm playing 15-minute games, so each side gets 15 minutes. And I'm going to try to do a bunch of these because I'm really enjoying playing them, and I find I'm learning a lot from what's happening. The way I'm studying this is by playing a game and then examining it afterwards and analyzing to see what the computer says about what moves are better and what opportunities I may have missed. So right here you can see I've got white wins, but we're going to go back up to the very first of the game. This game ended in a victory for me as white, and the green arrows are basically what the computer tells me to do. So if I move ahead here to E4, then I'm up points in material. But let's see what the game happened. So I advanced E4. I always do this when they pull their pawn up like that because it just gains more space and I'm trying to access these four center squares at the first of the game. It's very trivial to talk about that, but a lot of people don't know it, and it's just a great way to learn how to get better early game and better middle game. So the next moves followed. I'm just going to go quickly through them and show you basically the tactics of what happened. Here the computer says to take. I don't like to take very much because moving the knight up activates my knight to attack this square, or defend this square and attack this square. The benefit is if he ends up taking there, then I can take back with the knight, and it's not a big deal. So he instead decided to bring his knight up to double threaten this pawn, in which case I can either take if I want to, but I would rather, the computer says to take, I would much rather push, because even though it puts me down in material, it seems, it forces the knight to go away, which gives me an extra tempo to activate pieces, which he jumps away, and now is blocked on here and here and here. So this knight becomes basically useless, and in this situation. Even though the computer says it's about even, I like to do that. So I advance my knight just to gain more access of the center, and he pushes his pawn to attack my center pawn. This is a great move because it takes away my piece, and I am unable to push my pawn. I'm unable to push my pawn here to defend that square. So what I ended up doing was to move my bishop up to defend it so that if he takes, I take back. And this ended up actually in a bad position for me early on. He advances his pawn, so it says that I can take. If I do take, let's just see what happens. Oh, let's just kill that. If I were to take, basically, I thought that he could push down here in threatening both these pieces, here and here. So, but I guess I can take back because there's nothing to defend it, nothing to back it up. So that's kind of what I was afraid of, and it's a 15-minute game, so I'm not really thinking too far ahead into it. So I move my bishop up. He decides to move his pawn up. And this, I think, is a really bad move that started the fall of his position. He has nowhere to castle, and even though he has two strong squares, these are well defended, this is going to be a big weakness in the game. And we'll see how that happened. So I decided to capture here. Oh, sorry, I took the knight first. The reason I took the knight first is because I wanted to get rid of that threat that was attacking these two pawns. I thought it was quite a high value thing to kill, so I wanted to get rid of it. Plus, it forces him to have a double pawn, which he does now. So he's got a double pawn on here, which is always good for the endgame. And that actual double pawn right there is how I gain material. So I chose to castle and not take that pawn. The reason I didn't want to take the pawn is because it loses a tempo for me, basically, to do that. What's the computer say, though? The computer says it's much better to take it than to not take it. So, I don't know. Let's see. So, he decided to take on the back. And I could have taken with queen here easily, and that's what was said to be done. The only thing I was sort of thinking of is I'm trying to defend this square, and I'm trying to make it so that when this is pushed, I'm not in too big a trouble. However, this is where I almost ran into trouble. Here he pushes down, and normally I would have to move, I'd have to move back to here. But instead, I took on this pawn. Now he can take here, and it's probably better for him to take anyway. What ended up happening was if he takes this, which he didn't, but if he takes that, then, oh shoot, I hate that. If he takes that, I can then take here. He can take back with his pawn, and then I can take back here, which I didn't think was too awful bad because I'm up a pawn. It really opens up the position. I can't calculate like the computer, but right now I'm 2 pawns up, and he's a whole minor piece up, I guess. So that's why, I don't know, it was bad for me to do that probably. So let's just go back to the game here. So he takes, moved down, and I decided to take here, in which case he decided to recapture, which totally freed up my bishop. So now I take, he takes with queen, and then I moved here. And this is like something I'm really trying to work on right now, and that is that you line things up before they actually happen. So this pawn is a problem for me right now, and if I could get rid of that pawn, I would be able to check his king before he has time to castle. So that's what I did, and he made a huge blunder here by playing bishop to b7. So I'm right now a 1325 player, as you can see over here, and he was a 1560. So he's much higher rated than I am, and he was making moves really quickly. At this point in the game, I think he'd only taken 45 seconds for moves, and I'd taken 6 minutes. And that's awesome because at the first of the game, those are the most important moves. He happened to make this huge blunder by playing there, which I took advantage of, to check his king. So basically, it checks the king. Oops. It checks the king and also attacks the bishop. So he moved away. And wherever he had moved, that was really one of the worst moves because now I can take and check him again. And the best move is to move this bishop up like the computer suggests. But instead, he moved away and I captured his rook. So now I've got a huge advantage that I'm just far ahead of where he is. So this game wasn't really too challenging. The main points are have patience when you're playing the games. The early moves are very important. And plan your attacks. You know, even though this bishop is here right now, I can easily take that rook because it's undefended. This pins the bishop. So even though this is no good to kill that rook as of now, it will be in the future. So that's a very important point to go over. And overconfidence. Take advantage of their overconfidence. If they're playing really quickly, that means they're not thinking about their moves. This game continued on to a victory, but really I just had to force exchanges and then took advantage of as many opportunities as I could and just played it really slow because he was really trying to defend it. Now this was a bad move right here. When he attacks this knight in that position, oh, whoops. So he attacks the knight in that position. I moved up to defend it. And actually, I thought the computer would say to bring this pawn to here. Now I can't select it, of course, but bring the pawn to here. And if he did that, my knight would have to move away. Let's just see what happens if he does that. If I move pawn to here, oh, then it opens up check for the king. So that really is much more deadly. Check to the king, and then take the bishop. So that's why he wasn't able to do that. But anyway, the game ended in a victory. Just go back there and check it out. So takes pawn. But really, I'm not going to let him have anything. And once I have defense for all these pieces, it's time to just line up the rooks and check the king. And once he is in a vulnerable position, I end up just bringing the rook over, sacrificing my knight, and bringing over checkmate. So, great game, rated 1325, and brought me to 1350 maybe or something. But hopefully you've learned something from this. And one thing I'd really recommend is Majnu. I've been watching those every day. He has about 26 videos, Majnu, I believe, and that's a great thing to watch. So next time, hopefully I'll upload some more, a little more frequent, and play some games and see if I can improve my chess rating. So thanks for watching.